Greetings and welcome to another video. This is part 6 in the series of Second Life Terms of Service, and this is a very important section, section 6, conduct by the users of the service. So let me just get situated here. Now, this is a very, very important part of the terms of service because many people will use this section poorly misinterpreted by them to bully and harass other users, to threaten them, to intimidate them. And this presents an echo chamber because when someone uses this tactic to someone else, then that someone else will use it against another person. When in actuality, what they are the words that they're using, oh, that's against the toss, you can't do that, you can't do this. More than likely it's not in the toss, it's just that they've heard it from someone else and they haven't actually read the toss themselves. Now, I've spoken with people over the years in my long 16-year history, and this is a common occurrence against people who, for a plethora of reasons, do this thing, right? And it just makes no sense to me if you haven't read something thoroughly and taken the time to actually understand it, to comprehend it, that you shouldn't misuse it in practice, especially when you're using it as a bullying tactic or an intimidation factor against other people. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Again, this is Second Life's Terms of Service, Section 6, Conduct by Users of the Service. You agree to abide by certain rules of conduct, including any applicable community standards. Now, I'll pause here. The community standards is separate from the terms of service. We will go into the community standards right after this section. I'm not sure if it'll be in this video or another video. It depends on time. So, with that being said, you agree to abide by certain rules of conduct, including any applicable community standards for the portion of the service you are using, and other rules prohibiting illegal and other practices that Linden Lab deems harmful. You are solely responsible for your interaction with other users of the service, whether online or offline, meaning that they're not going to babysit you in world, online, or offline in the physical world, or offline somewhere else on the internet. They're not going to babysit you. You are responsible for your own actions and interactions with others. We are not responsible or liable for the conduct or content of any user. We reserve the right, but not the obligation, to monitor or become involved in disputes between you and other users. Now, Linden Lab, they reserve the right. They can if they want to. They do have that right, but they are not obligated to monitor or become involved in disputes between you and other users. So let's say you have two people. You have Sally and you have Billy. These are just random made up names. I just now made them up. Sally has a dispute with Billy, and Sally wants Linden Lab to step in and to um, punish Billy. Well, Linden Lab won't. They won't do that. It's like, in the physical world, when there's a domestic dispute, police or more than likely won't get involved because it's a domestic dispute. Domestic dispute. Yep. So that's just an example. So you can't pressure Linden Lab to feel obligated to step in whatever dispute you're having with someone else. You you can't pressure them or make them feel obligated to monitor or, try to settle the dispute between you and someone else. No, because they won't. Exercise common sense and your best judgment in your interactions with others, like when you submit any personal or other information and in all of your other online activities. So, you exercise common sense. Granted, a lot of people on the internet don't have a lot of common sense. You exercise your best judgment in your interactions with others. But it does not say anywhere here that Linden Lab will punish the person that you want them to punish because either you failed to exercise common sense on your own part or your best judgment was actually one of your worst judgment when it comes to someone else and your interactions with them. Moving on to part 6.1. You will not post or transmit prohibited content, including any content that is illegal, harassing, or violates any person's rights. You agree that you will not post, display, or transmit content that violates any law or the rights of any third party, including without limitation intellectual property rights. We reserve the right to request at any time proof of permissions in a form acceptable to us. Failure to provide such proof may lead to, among other things, removal of such content from the service. This section is talking about content. This is content. This is, when the DMCA comes in and all of this stuff. So, if there is a dispute of content, um, Linden Lab does reserve the right to request, like, okay, give me the proof of where, you came up with this. But again, as we spoke in the intellectual property rights section, which was, I think it was section, hold on, let me look. It was a couple of videos ago. It was section 2. So that would be video part 2. Um, that they will only get involved when it directly affects Linden Labs' right to use your content. But if it's content between you and someone else, then Linden Lab will be like, if it only serves then they'll get involved. But if it doesn't, they'll be like, yep, sorry, can't do anything about it. Y'all got to go to court. Okay, so next. You will agree that you will not impersonate any person or entity without their consent or otherwise misrepresent your affiliation, or if you're an adult, impersonate a minor for the purpose of interacting with a minor using the service. This is pretty clear cut. I don't think I have to explain this, but yeah, don't. Next. You agree that you will not stalk, harass, or engage in any sexual, suggestive, lewd, lascivious, or otherwise inappropriate conduct with minors on the service. This goes with the previous section here. This is a definite no. This is definite no. Anything involving minors is a no. Next, you agree that you will not post, display, or transmit content, including any communications with employees of Linden Lab that is harmful, threatening, or harassing, defamatory, lascivious, or liable, anyway, false, inaccurate, misleading, or invades another person's privacy. these are with the employees of Linden Lab. It does not say other users. It does not say other users. It does not say other service users or users of the service. It says with employees of Linden Lab. So if you have a if if you're having a conversation, tech support, and you're talking with a Linden about land, for example, and there's an argument or whatever, and you post it, yeah, that's against the toss. If you are upset or mad at a Linden employee and you spread it all over Second Life or any of Linden Lab services, like the community forums or what have you, then yes, that is against the toss. If you post, display, or transmit content including any communications with employees of Linden Lab that is harmful, threatening, or harassing, defamatory, libelous, I know, false, inaccurate, misleading, or invades another person's privacy with employees of Linden Lab. Okay, moving on. Next, you agree that you will not post, display, or transmit content that is obscene, hateful, involves terrorism, or is racially, ethically, or otherwise objectionable, or post, display, or transmit content. Oh, yeah, sorry, I just read that. Okay. Post, display, or transmit content that is obscene, hateful, involves terrorism, or is racially, ethically, or otherwise objectionable, or post, display, or transmit any content or conduct or host any activity that is sexually explicit or intensely violent. Now, these two parts do not directly um, it doesn't state directly to users of the service or another user. This is a generality publicly. If you post, on a forum, display in world, or transmit content, the stuff that griefers usually do, that it is obscene, hateful, involves terrorism, or is racially, ethically, or otherwise objectionable, or post, display, or transmit any content or conduct, or host any activity that is sexually explicit or intensely violent. You agree that you will not do these things. And just to let you know, I'm reading Second Life's Terms of Service. So again, this is one of those that that is under the best judgment, common sense type of thing. Like, you're not going to uh, host any activity that involves sexually explicit or intensely violent things on a G rated sim. That is against the toss. Moving on. Any violation by you of these terms in this section may result in immediate termination of your accounts without any refund or other compensation. Remember, you are not entitled to a refund or compensation at any time for whatever reason from Linden Lab. We covered that in the previous video. Next part, 6.2. You agree that you will not post or transmit content or code that may be harmful, impede other users' functionality, invade other users' privacy, or serendipitously or negatively impact any system or network. You agree to respect both the integrity of the service and the privacy of other users. You will not post or transmit viruses, Trojan horses, worms, spyware, time bombs, cancel bots, or other computer programming routines that may harm the service for interest or rights of other users, or that may harvest or collect any data or information about other users without their consent. You will not post or transmit any unsolicited or unauthorized advertising or promotional materials that are in the nature of junk mail, spam, chain letters, pyramid schemes, or any other form of solicitation that Linden Lab considers to be of such nature. So, when you have your group chat suddenly open with someone saying, "Hey, there's a big sale on all these things at this place," and that place is has nothing to do with that particular group. Yeah, that's unsolicited and unauthorized advertising, right? That's an example. You will not engage in malicious or disruptive conduct that impedes or interferes with other users' normal use of or enjoyment of the service. Again, this is one of those things that involves a person's best judgment and, let's face it, human decency and common manners. Um, that is something that, well, only you can control. So, you will not engage in malicious or disruptive conduct that impedes or interferes with other users' normal use of or enjoyment of the service. Those are things like the trolls and the griefers and the people that just get thrills and kicks from making other people miserable and thinking that other people are just NPCs with no feelings, and they can just use them as their target practice of hate and abuse. Yeah, yeah. Moving on. Use of any cheats, mods, hacks, or other unauthorized techniques or unauthorized third party software to cheat in any competition or game that may be offered on the service, or to otherwise disrupt or modify the service or the experience of any users on the service, or attempt to gain unauthorized access to any user's account, password, or content. So this is talking about things like copybots, the using uh, a particular set of scripts that will phish a person's account, uh, or using a software outside of Linden Labs services to do bad things. Uh, that's all I'm going to say. But yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. Explanatory. Now, we are done with section 6, but as I said previously, I am going to go ahead and look at the time. It's been 18 minutes now, so, and I think it would probably be better if I wait for the community standards for another video. So the next video will be about community standards, which goes with this section of the TOS. And let's see, let me get myself situated again. Woo. Right. Okay, so thank you for listening or watching, and I will see you in the next video, which will be about the community standards, which goes with this video, part 6, conduct of users of the service. And that's it. Hope you learned something. Bye for now.